Right, boys, we've got a Plague Champion that can walk through buildings over here. Man, you'd think he was the Chaos Sorcerer, but he's not. He's going to be played by Bestie here on Solstice Plateau. And the Sorcerer is actually going to be Valhero, so hopefully Mr. Interesting is going to provide us with an interesting game today. Looks like both players are focusing on just dealing with this section of the map here. So you can see there's a nice safe distribution of points on either side for both players. And then you've got this contested VP and a contested PowerPoint, but you also have a separate section of the map here with the two natural VPs, but as you can see they're pretty damn close to one another, so you can easily, if you put a bit of pressure on here, take the other person's natural and lock them out in this area using the heavy cover. And then you've got an extra contested power and a contested requisition, but both players focusing on this part of the map for now. Sorcerer going to be exploiting his melee prowess, of course, getting a little bit of green cover, protecting him from the Plague Champion attacks right there. You've got Bestie's Heretics lurking, but they've got to be so careful. Remember Doom Bolts, when the Sorcerer's got over 100 energy, they're going to fire 6 bolts, and that will, oh my god, that will one-shot Heretics, but these are high-level players, so Valhero knew that Bestie would be very concerned about his Heretics going into this fight here, so he actually shot the Doom Bolts at the CSM, and he killed 2 of the CSM. Can you believe it? Now staying in play here after consuming the Heretics in order to get the energy for another Doom Bolt, but beautifully dodged there from Bestie. Quite predictable, in spite of the fact that the Chaos Sorcerer was invisible. It was quite an obvious play. I'm not sure what the cooldown is on Consume, but he's going to want to try and do that again. But Bestie using his remaining CSM model than his Plague Champion to just pew-pew at the Heretics, bleed them. Heretics running in here, it's very risky. As soon as they commit to melee, you just blast them with the Doom Bolt. So, but they've got an Aspiring Champion now, so at the very least, he won't die to the Doom Bolts. But you set up the 1-2 there with the Doom Blast to suppress them, and then boom, hit them with that Doom Bolt. But Sorcerer is actually very low on Aspiring Champion. Oh, I don't know if it was the Aspiring Champion who got the kill there or the damage over time from the Plague Champion, but actually managed to kill the Sorcerer. So an engagement that was looking quite favourable there for Val, going in favour of Bestie in the end. Now, of course, Bestie did spend quite a fair bit of resources there getting the Aspiring Champion out nice and early. Val, on the other hand, went for double CSM. Oh, that is abnormal. You see, if he'd gone for Heretics earlier, he'd have had basically all this map caught now, because Bestie didn't send anything to contest it, while Val was 1 unit lower because he only had 1 tick rather than 2. So we'll have to see if in the long run the CSM works out. Personally, I'd probably not be going for double CSM against a PC. Generally, he's going to win the ranged firefights, but maybe not. Maybe not if the Sorcerer can execute his spells correctly. You know, you've got the Demon Shield in tier 2, which gives you more energy for more Doom Bolts, as well as the Demon Shield itself. It's the Demon Armor, is it? Demon Armor? Gives you the Demon Shield. So you drop that on your troops, they take less damage from ranged attacks, then you've got the Warp Fire Staff. So there's a lot of long-range supporting elements that the Sorcerer can use to beat enemy ranged blobs sitting in green cover. Now you could beat them with Blastmasters as well, which, as Valhero, is probably a better choice, I would argue. It'd help counter garrisons that you can come across on this map. Can't actually use these garrisons because of these blockers unless you destroy them with like a vehicle. Kind of feel like this would be a nice thing to be a garrison. If you could put an artillery unit like a Blastmaster or a P-Dev and cover this VP with it. I guess it's imbalanced because it can't cover down here. Asymmetrical maps. Anyway. Now, you wouldn't go for the Noise Marines as Bestie, because it's the Sorcerer who could just get Sigil of the Rift and teleport them forward when they're in Blastmaster mode and wreck them. So it makes sense that Bestie is going for Chaos Raptors. He's also got the 2 Heretics, which, if they both get Aspiring Champions, will give Bestie a lot of advantages in terms of melee combat against double CSM. But Sorcerer, not surprising really, he can counter that with Flame Sword. He has now cancelled the Flame Sword. And he's got 1 Aspiring Champion Heretic. So the Aspiring Champion Heretic will pretty easily beat Raptors 1v1. So it's very cost effective, and add in a Flame Sword with Coruscating Flame to make them do that damage over time. well, damage in an area, for a set period of time. That'll easily defeat the Raptors. That AoE damage will also be very good against the Heretics, but ultimately double Heretics with AC plus Raptors is going to overwhelm even a Coruscating Flame Heretic quite easily. But Val's actually going tier 2 fast. Interesting. There's only the CSM here. I'd probably take this fight to weaken the Raptors. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to bleed. Certainly with the PC and the CSM shooting in at the Heretics, it's going to be a bad situation. But look at this. Bestie is aware of what's going on here. He's noticing that Val Sorcerer is out of position for the big fight here. He's got a lot of forces in the mid. And he notices that Val really doesn't have a lot of troops. So, this is an opportune moment to get a Gem Bash going. First Heretic's going to engage. Sorcerer's still loitering around, not active in the combat. You can see him in the minimap coming down now. Raptors are going to go in and suppress one of the CSM. A lot of focus fire there from the CSM of Bestie is going to mean that the one AC tick from Bestie is going to beat Valhero's, but Valhero is very close to the base here. He's got the advantage of having the double CSM. Sorcerer is now in combat, throws out a close range Doom Bolt. Doesn't seem to do too much. Okay, Sorcerer needs to get out of there. He's teleporting in his Heretics. Oh god, the Heretics might wipe though. This is crazy. So the Plague Champion went down to the focus fire there, and the Heretics are going to wipe. Wow, but Val's tier 2, and with the Plague Champion going down, that was of course the best source of gen bashing potential here for Bestie. So he's probably going to keep these two gens alive. Just needs to be careful with these CSM, they're getting very low. Eternal War on Bestie's CSM, making them do even more damage. The Raptors are going for that third and final generator, but we've got this node over here, which probably wants to get noded. Well, then again, Bestie's actually got some AC ticks en route to deal with it. Wow. Able to get this quite easily in the end. Level 2 CSM with Eternal War, really putting in the work here for Bestie. Sorcerer really out of position for that fight, I think. So the Blood Crusher comes out. Bestie, of course, isn't tier 2 yet. He's only going tier 2, but he's got a nice advantage in terms of his units so far. Well, actually, he's down the PC, so technically it is 4v4 right now, but of course this BC can't cap. So generally you should expect a little bit of a capping advantage here for Bestie as we go forward. But he needs to survive. We've got the Rod of Warpfire already. That's going to be really brutal against the Heretics in particular because of the AoE damage on it. Just getting a bit of gem bashing going. I'd probably just take the right point, to be honest, with the Sorcerer right now. Or go over here and start fighting these guys. This weapon, although it does primarily function as a ranged weapon, he's still very competent in melee, so you wouldn't want to melee him with Heretics. That's just going to feed him way too much XP. And I think I've mentioned it before in a 2v2 cast. I don't know recently if I've mentioned it in a 1v1 cast, but the Warpfire actually, it's not just a damage ability like Doom Bolts that you use it for. That's not where the utility comes from. There's two aspects to it that give it a lot of utility. So firstly, unlike Doom Bolts, it does full damage and retreat. So that is one of the biggest things. If you watch these Heretics here as they retreat, look how much they blob up. It's super easy to go and just annihilate them in retreat. And that's one of the big advantages of Warpfire, because unlike Doom Bolts and most abilities, damaging kind of spells, think Destructor from the Warlock, that sort of thing, they don't do full damage in retreat, they only do 20%. So yeah, that's huge. You wipe retreating squads from it. So you use it at the end of fights, not at the start. You soften them with Doom Bolts, then you hit them with Warpfire. The other benefit is it does knockback. So if you use it in a melee fight, when your Heretics are fighting... Oh god, look at that right there. Perfect example. And now the Blood Crusher's in retreat as well. Yikes. Pretty scary. If your Heretics are in melee with the enemy Heretics, you just bait them out. You get it so that they're both on about 50% HP, then you hit them with the Warpfire. Ideally, if you do it from max range from Fog of War, where they don't see it coming, it's going to knock them forward into your melee units, who can then finish them while they're trying to retreat. So you can get wipes. That's the true power of the Rod of Warpfire. You can just throw it off whenever it's off cooldown, like Doom Bolts basically, but it's not using the Wargear to the full potential at all. Touch and Nurgle used over here to secure this victory. You might think this is a bit of a strange use of red, but if you look, there's nothing else over here contesting these points, so this is potentially going to give Bestie a good amount of map control, so it's nice to achieve that. And Bestie basically stalled there. Blood Crusher managed to bash one of the gens while I was rambling on, but not really anything else, so Bestie still had a pretty decent power income, so he's been able to get out a Chaos Dreadnought. Now, the Chaos Dreadnought has that ranged AV autocannon, which will put a lot of pressure onto the Blood Crusher, but also, for quite a while now, it's had 20% melee resist. So, combine the fact that it's got basically the same DPS in melee as a Blood Crusher, way more HP and 20% melee resist, Blood Crusher has none. The Blood Crusher doesn't want to fight this thing in melee without worship support. If it's got the healing from worship, you know, it can go Ink and the Blood Crusher, it can take a bit of HP off the Dreadnought, it can disengage, heal with worship and keep coming back and slowly whittle it down. But in a straight up head on duel, it's not going to go very well for the BC. And the problem is that when the BC disengages, it has to be wary of that autocannon doing some good damage. So it also has to be wary of this Demon Maul and the aspiring champion here of the Raptors, because that's heavy melee, and again, Blood Crusher doesn't have any melee resist, so it will hit hard. But Val's going to wait for some Plague Marines, which are the obvious choice here. You can't really get Havocs when there's Raptors running around. It's not going to work very well. So Sigil. Yep, Sigil's the CSM off that point, but Heretics can just take over instead. Look at the Warp Fire, man. They were like full HP, still managed to claim a model. I believe it's plasma cannon damage. Yeah, so it does bonus damage against heavy infantry, so it's just a threat against everything. Because you'd think only 4 models, so it wouldn't do that much compared to the Heretics, and yeah, it does hurt Heretics more, but the plasma cannon damage modifier certainly helps. So the 2 CSM here from Val, I'm not really sure about this play. They don't really seem to have done too much. Yeah, no real upgrades on them, no Eternal War. They probably need to get something. I think honestly Mark of Khorne could be quite useful here, at least on one of them. So Plague Marines should just get tied up here by the Raptors. Okay, Raptors actually turning around to deal with the Blood Crusher right now. Plague Marines are really messing around here. They're not shooting the Dreadnought with the missiles, so it's not snared right now. So it's presumably forced meleeed onto the Blood Crusher and is blasting it with that autocannon, but I think it just changed its targets. Yeah, the Blood Crusher's got too far away. So it'll live for now, but the Plague Champion came back as well and is spending his time very wisely with this Bowel Spewer and putting a lot of pressure onto the Gen Farm. He's trying to go into melee here to finish it, but has to get out of there. So Blood Crusher saves the day. Quite awkward to fight around this area against all this melee, which is why I would have suggested going for the Mark of Khorne to handle these Raptors in melee. Because Raptors do normal melee and then heavy melee, so the Mark of Khorne... Oh, Bestie's got the Mark of Khorne. Ooh, I like it. They're 4 power melee units, so they will kind of wipe the floor with Raptors. If you look at the HP, look at this, man. 1,615 versus 1,450 because these guys are level 1. Like, these guys are doing more damage by default. 30.77 power melee. That's probably about similar to Raptors. I think Raptors are about 30 melee damage, something like that. But they're not power melee. Okay, we do have some Mark of Khorne for Val, that's smart. We definitely need some here. But Blood Crusher, not Blood Crusher, the Khorne Dreadnought's now got Mark of Khorne. The Khorne Dreadnought's now got Mark of Khorne. The Chaos Dreadnought is now a Mark of Khorne Dreadnought. Blood raging pretty deep here, which is not ideal. Plague Marines are right there to turn around and snare it. So this thing has full melee resist, so you're really not going to hurt it with your Blood Crusher and Khorne Marines much at all. Sorcerer should really be going into melee here, or doing something productive. Bit of Nurgle Worship there. The Nurgle Worship heals vehicles marginally. I mean, it's 3.5 HP per second, which is okay when you compare it to the 10 HP that you'd get from repairs. But it's also would be healing the Khorne Curse Space Marines too. But yeah, Bestie's just putting the VP pressure on tremendously, holding these 2 VPs, like I said at the start. can be quite easy to hold the VPs here. If you rotate the camera a little bit as well, you might be able to use these garrisons now. But yeah, putting shrines down in locations like this could be pretty strong. Actually, I don't even think you can go into these garrisons. There's no like entrance way. Mark and Nurgle shrines, healing up your units when they're around the corner and suppressing enemies as they approach could be really impactful. But it looks like Bestie sort of pulled back now to defend his power farm because of the Khorne Marines and Blood Crusher pushing up through the mid. And that's allowed Val to get back in over here and put some control onto that part of the map. Hopefully get some VPs back. So we got one mark of Tzeentch now. Yeah, the mark of Khorne's there as well. With AC6, this is a really bad situation for the Raptors. As soon as this suppression wears off from the Khorne Marines, the Raptors are going to be in for a bad day. And honestly, lucky to only lose one model there with how long they stayed in that fight. So it's compositionally good for Val, but he's kind of been falling behind on eco because he's not had his power farm for a very long time. Spent a lot of requisition on the Plague Marines. Bestie, on the other hand, had a very balanced economy just with the Dreadnought purchase. Hasn't really lost more than a gen on his farm. So now he's tier 3, and yeah, this is looking great for Bestie. What would he get in tier 3 though? It's tricky. You don't really want to go for a Predator because you've already got the Plague Marines on the enemy side. But you would be overwhelming him with vehicle armor. He'd need more things to deal with you, but I feel like the Predator wouldn't be that strong. Maybe a Nurgle Predator, actually. Actually, yeah, Nurgle Predator could be really good. Because it's mostly infantry threats. You'd get the melee resist against the Blood Crusher. The Blood Crusher doesn't have a lot of HP, so reducing the AV damage on your cannon isn't that big of a deal. It's just self-healing, and it's just a load of vehicle armor for one squad of Plague Marines to deal with. A Khorne Dreadnought and a Nurgle Predator, they'll be at it for literally over a minute, killing both of them. Meanwhile, they're just constantly getting tied up in melee. We'll see what he goes for. He might just choose the boring option of Mark of Khorne, but I genuinely think that right now a Nurgle Predator would be good. The thing is, he doesn't know that Val is doing so poor economically. He might be concerned that Val eventually will be getting tier 3 and getting a Mark of Khorne pred, which would negate the Nurgle pred pretty bad. I'm getting a lot of bleed here on the Raptors. Touch and Nurgle goes down on them. They're literally on their last model there, but pushing the forces of Valhero back, keeping the Plague Marines tied up. They're popping, and that's more bleed. A lot of bleed. Man, I'm really shocked that Val can stay in this game. The question is, how does he do it? I mean, he's got a good bit of bleed there on the Raptors. It might honestly be worth not even reinforcing the Raptors fully at this point. So has he seen the second Predator? Because he's already going for a second Plague Marine. Yeah, a Mark of Khorne Predator will do terrible against double Plague Marines. This is not a good idea. Yes! Mark of Nurgle. Go on, Bestie. He knows. He knows. Yes, nice. That will do good. A Mark of Khorne, as soon as it tries to engage, if it gets caught by even one missile and gets snared, you're in trouble because it's got so little HP. So this is the correct choice. You are slower, but you're just so durable with the Chaos Predator. The power of the Plague Marines isn't their DPS. Their AV DPS is not huge. It's the fact that they're really hard to get rid of and they snare you. Ooh, Khorne Dreadnought's in Blood Rage right now, so it's not able to flee. It's getting hit by the double Plague Marines, so it's got that damage resist, which is protecting it slightly, but it needs to go. Oh, he's lost it. He's going to lose it. He's not the sorcerer here, Bestie, so he can't teleport it out. He's lost his Chaos Dreadnought. Okay, well, there you have it. That's part of the comeback for Val. I mean, he had to do something. He is so far behind on VPs. I don't know why Bestie's sending the Nurgle Pred down on its own. That doesn't seem like a very good idea. So the Nurgle Predator, not only is it tankier with 40% melee resist at the expense of significantly lower speed, but you can see here it actually does pretty good damage against infantry. Because it's got an AoE effect on its cannon shots and its bolters get damage over time. But the actual cannon impact is less powerful. So against something like a Blood Crusher, it's not very good. Blood Crusher trying to output some damage there, of course. It's dealing with a melee resist, and you've got repairs as well. But you see, this is the advantage of the Noble Predator. Look at how it just sat there. It took those Blood Crusher hits for ages whilst getting shot by missiles, and it just doesn't care. And as it levels up, it gets even stronger because it starts getting more max HP and also more HP regen. So it's pretty terrible against other tanks because it's so slow and the actual cannon shots don't do very good. As you can see, that was pathetic, wasn't it? It did something, but it didn't do a lot. Can the Melter Pistol here in the KCSM kill the Blood Crusher? Looks like it. Ooh, just goes invisible in time. Wow, one more shot there from a Melter Pistol from the aspiring champion probably would have been GG, but here come the Corncare Space Marines and the Raptors into the double Plague Marines. Nurgle Predator basically acting as bait here to cause the Plague Marines to stay in melee for ages. A beautiful Doom Bolt's a Demonic Fury to try and push the melee away. Can the tank finish off the Blood Crusher? No, it shoots at the wrong thing, but can the Corncare Space Marines? Nope. Tzeentch Worship actually doing something productive there. Infiltrating the Blood Crusher at the right time. We've got Val's Chaos Space Marines coming back in. Going to be bleeding the Raptors potentially. Meh. Oh, Sigil of the Rift to teleport the Plague Marines forward. Beautiful. These are the players you've got to do as the Sorcerer. And of course the Nurgle Predator is very, very slow as it is. Now it's lost its melee support. A desperate play by Bestie trying to use a Noxious Cloud, but fucking hell, they're Plague Marines. They don't care about Stinky Cloud. They bathe in that shit. Well, apparently I'm lying because they just retreated. I guess the problem is that one of them had to retreat because they were low HP, and then, as I say, these guys don't do a lot of DPS. You're getting 10 HP per second healed, plus 3.5 HP per second from the natural regen. So what's the DPS of a Plague Marine? It's probably similar to Attack Missile Launcher, about 17 DPS. So you'd be doing 4 damage per second. It's going to take forever to finish off that Predator. Do an effective 4 damage per second. So yeah, fine. He retreats out of there. Looks like the Sorcerer there just trying to disrupt the cap as best as he can, but it was spotted by Bestie. I'm not sure if there were going to be like a trap that were pulling him into, but it didn't appear to be. So trying to set up a bit of a flank here on the Predator. Again, this is why the Nurgle Predator is nice. A Mark of Khorne Predator, whilst it's fast, if it's just sitting guard here, it's a bit of a sitting duck. You're trying to like maneuver around all these line of sight blockers. It's not ideal. Wow, double Blood Crushers. Interesting. Yeah, because there's no hard AV here from Bestie. Just got a lot of heavy melee. Like, look at the PC with his Power Fist now. Inflicting some pretty significant damage there onto the Blood Crusher with each swing. Was that a Warp Fire on the Heretics? They're getting beaten. I don't know why the Tzeentch Space Marines are focusing on the Heretics, but they wipe them. Blood Crusher charging through. Tzeentch Space Marines now focusing on the Raptors, going for the wipe. Demonic Fury pushing the Plague Champion away. Wow. The Blood Crusher lives with 50 HP here. Level 3 Blood Crusher. Now, the Tzeentch Space Marines turn around and can inflict some serious damage onto the Corncare Space Marines here. Healed by Mucus Discharge. Protected, actually, from the Tzeentch Space Marines by the Pestilent Strike. And now a little bit of pressure onto the tank from the Blood Crusher, but not a huge amount. Tank mostly just ignoring it, which is so amusing. Hunting down these Tzeentch Space Marines, but there's a Sigil of the Rift, so Plague Marine's going to pop out here. This could be bad. Oh god. Yeah, both the Plague Marines pop out. Bang, bang, rear armor, double missile. Raptors jumping in. Blood Crusher probably going to finish it off here. 14. One more hit. One more hit. Oh. Can he charge through? Okay, he loses the Blood Crusher, but he got the Nurgle tank, so that's well worth it. Plague Marines are popping models all over the place. That's not true. It's not the worst tank at all. I don't know why Bestie rotated it over to deal with Tzeentch Plague Marines. God. Tzeentch Space Marines. All they had to do was drive it back to base. It was fine, it was handling a Blood Crusher easily on its own. But he drove it through, ignoring the Blood Crusher's damage for ages. And obviously it was ultimately down to this Sigil of the Rift, pushing the Plague Marines forward and getting onto rear armour. Double missile hits. That's what caused it. Good use of Sigil of the Rift, to be fair. Here we go with some more Doom Bolts. Again, Sigil of the Rift used to disrupt the cap there. Really annoying. Because now the Tzeentch Space Marines are back and they do brutal damage against the heavy infantry. A lot of bleed on the Plague Marines, if nothing else, though. So they're running around now without full models. So they'll be less tanky for future fights. Might be difficult here to kill the PC now he's getting his Pestilent armour. He's got a couple of sources of range damage with this and the Tzeentch Space Marines. But yeah, Val's really caught up on the VPs, wow. Only 150 left for Bestie, 100 for Val now. I feel like Val was on 150 to 400 for Bestie not so long ago. So he's doing a great job. Gotta focus fire the Raptors first here. A bit of a miss micro moving those Tzeentch Space Marines very far forward. Oh, beautiful Warp Fire though. Warp Fire into the Khorne Space Marines. It's nasty, but of course Touch and Nurgle there to negate it temporarily. And now you've got Khorne Marines plus AC Ticks fighting Khorne Marines. There's even a Demonic Summoning here in an attempt to reinforce the Khorne Space Marines. Wow. That is a brave play. Moves the Plague Marines nearby to slow the pursuing Khorne Marines. No, it doesn't look like that was intentional. Whoops. Whoa. It's hard to see what's going on here. I'm going to have to rotate the camera. Looks like they reinforced right at the back and we're still fighting the PC. But in general, yeah, Bestie's level 4 Khorne Marines here going absolutely crazy. Obviously, just going to tear through the Plague Marines. Takes a bit of time. Plague Marines can't really fight back. So once again, looking pretty good for Bestie. He has fewer units, but he's got a good amount of resources here. Probably Terminator time, I imagine. You're not going to go for a Phobos. There's no point. It's mostly anti-vehicle. There's no vehicles to kill. Great and Clean One will get snared and take a bit of damage from the Plague Marines, but will also take a lot of damage from the CSM here. Wow, just wiped the AC Ticks there with Touch and Nurgle. Some beautiful Touch and Nurgle usage. Gotta hand it to Bestie with that one. Certainly more effective than his Noxious Cloud. To be fair, I feel like Noxious Cloud these days is really crap. The fact that it costs more than Touch of Nurgle, and I really don't think Touch of Nurgle's overpriced either. I just think Noxious Cloud is... I think that's probably overpriced. But tell me in the comments down below, what do you think? People hate the Plague Champion. He's had about 652 nerfs in the last 2 years. Do you think Noxious Cloud is a little weak at the moment? Or do you think the problem is that things like Touch and Nurgle are too good, even after all the nerfs it's received? Val really scrapping here, fighting for his life to try and prevent this full cap, which he is. He's doing a good job there. He used his Dark Flames Goble, knocked off the Heretics, using his Sigil now to delay. Stalling so his Khorne Marines can heal. Beautiful 6-bolt Doom Bolt. Probably got enough energy for a Warp Fire here, knock these guys off the cap. I think he was trying to line them all up. Another Doom Bolts. Bit less effective at this stage of the game when you're fighting level 4 Marine squads with their squad leaders, but still decent. Good chip. Where's the Warp Fire? God, another Touch of Nurgle. Okay, one thing about Touch of Nurgle that I didn't realise is, wow, it has a low cooldown. Interesting. Normally you're limited by the fact it costs so much red, 175 red every single time. But yeah, this game has been brutal. There's just so much red going around because they're killing so many of one another's units. And Bestie is going to go with the Guo. It's tricky because I love this Sigil play. Really nice Sigil play by Val here. Gets those Plague Marines right across the shot blocker and onto the natural of Bestie, another demonic summoning, but he's not actually reinforcing his Plague Marines, which is a bit of a mistake. I assume he must have thought that they're on auto-reinforce, but they're not. Plague Champion manages to kill them. Where's the Warp Fire, man? Where's the Warp Fire? I feel like we've not seen Warp Fire in forever. Just another Doom Bolts. Here's the Great and Clean one. So yeah, the alternative would have been to go for the Terminators, who would be unhindered by the Plague Marines, but they would also take a lot of damage from the 2 level 4 CSM. But as long as you don't leave them isolated, they should be fine. I guess the problem with the Terminators is you've got subjugation potentially from the Sorcerer. Well, that would require Val being tier 3, which he isn't even in yet. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. We'll see how the Guo does. It's obviously... Honestly, the Guo, probably the best super unit in the game. It's just so versatile. Sniping heroes, sniping sub-commanders with Foul Snare. Great anti-melee with its Pestilent Stomp ability. Just really powerful. Tankiest unit in the game. Can heal it on the field pretty well with your Nurgle Worship. It's, yeah, just such a good unit. Combine any suppression effects or target any setup team with a Vomit, and you're basically guaranteed to hit it, and it does huge AoE damage to infantry. That was just a special attack. Oh, Vomit. Might be tempting to shoot off a Vomit here and hit the Plague Marines in the CSM, but yeah, would be easy to dodge. Val going to be going for a Chaos Dreadnought, probably going to make it Mark of Khorne so it can tango with the Guo in melee. There's no real AV here for Bestie. There's only melee AV. Demon Hammer on the Aspiring Champion of the Raptors. Plague Champion Power Fist is heavy melee. Obviously this Great and Clean one is a heavy melee monster. So this Chaos Dreadnought could do pretty good if it goes Mark of Khorne. We'll see. The problem is right now for both players, VPs are getting exceptionally low. Only 33 left for Bestie, so he's probably going to be tanking up over here. Might actually be a situation to build a las cannon turret. Could you believe it? Can you imagine if that would happen? We've not seen one of them in so long. They got nerfed as well, which I was really disappointed about, because I never felt like they did that well. I guess they were pretty damn strong in 3v3s, but I blame the 3v3 maps for that, where everything's all about camping. So you just put like a las cannon turret behind all your artillery lines, so if the enemies flank your artillery with vehicles, the las cannon turret just annihilates them. But we've got a shrine for now, of course. Bestie hasn't seen the Chaos Dreadnought. I believe he may be able to see it now out of his periphery if he's paying attention, but the attention right now will be going on to this VP over here. Trying to bait the Bloodletters into the Sigil to move them away, so he does, but the Khorne Chaos Space Marines of Bestie are still in play. Wow, he actually baits them around there with the Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines, and he's just attempting a Force Cap. Chaos Dreadnought right now is only in default mode, so it's not going to be able to handle the Guo very well at all. Guo's now moving in to engage with him. You've got the KCSM taking out the Sorcerer. It's looking like a bad situation for Val here. He's kind of going all in, trying to get the VP, but he's not able to do it. Yeah, and Chaos Dreadnought without Mark of Khorne is going to get absolutely wrecked by a Great and Clean one in melee, regardless of the presence of these level 4 Raptors. And there you go, the Great and Clean one does one wide sweeping slash with that Plague Sword, and the Chaos Dreadnought goes down, and Val concedes. A shame that Val couldn't have made that pullback, that comeback. I feel like he had a little bit of pressure there at the end that maybe he could have bought a bit more time. I don't know, he's got 24 VPs, so you're talking maybe about 30 seconds at most he had. And it's annoying, you've got to wait for that Mark of Khorne, you've still got a cap within that time as well, so it was not going to be easy, but certainly not having the Mark of Khorne, that Dreadnought wouldn't be able to do much against the Guo. Pretty good map for the PC this, isn't it, really? This area's got a lot of this uncrushable green cover with these stones that you can't break. Really good for sitting your CSM and PC in and just winning cover-to-cover shootouts. It's quite an open area as well, good for Blastmasters and Havocs. And then you get over here and, man, it's like heaven for shrines, isn't it? Planting shrines here, planting shrines there behind the shot blockers, planting shrines here and here. Ugh. Oh, here. A lot of good areas to plant shrines. You could even plant one here, set up like a Havoc in this area. Yeah, it's pretty tricky, really. It's a good one for the PC. But we've seen some beautiful plays from the Sorcerer there by Val. Taking out the Nurgle tank with the 2 Plague Marines in the rear armor, that was awesome. Really, really nice sigil plays. Some pretty good warp fires, and a load of good doom bolts. Hope you enjoyed that one, folks. A little cheeky chaos mirror. It's going to be all from your boy Torpid. And if you want to support the channel and get free access to a bunch of exclusive casts, we've now got over 50 on the Patreon. So head over there and check it out. Torpid signing out.